The following is a paid program and the views and opinions expressed are those of the host and other speakers and do not reflect the views and opinions of TVG Channel 28.
Shri Guruve Namah Shri Guruve Namah Srimad Padvakya Praman Paravari Vedamark Patishta Panacharya Nikila Darshan Samanvayacharya Sanatan Vedic Dharm Pratishtapan Sat Sampradaya Paramacharya Bhakti Yog Ras Avatar Bhagavadanand Shri Vibhushi JagadGuru Tam Swami 1008 Shri Kripaluji Maharaj He Akaran Karuna Patita Pavan Shri Krishna तुमसे विमुख होने के कारण अनादिकाल से हमने अनंत अनंत दुख पाए एवं पा रहे हैं पाप करते करते अंतःकरण इतना मलिन हो चुका है कि रसिकों द्वारा यह जान भी अपनी बुझाओं के पसारे अपनी वात्सल्यमयी दृष्टि से हमारी प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हो तुम्हारे शरण में नहीं आ पाता. O my divine beloved, causelessly merciful Sri Radhe Shyam, having ignored you since time immemorial, I have been suffering due to committing sins lifetime after lifetime. My mind have become so polluted, even though your saints are telling me you're waiting for me with arms outstretched to embrace me, with a divine life to grace me. Still, I fail to surrender to you completely. All glories to the most beautiful divine personality of Godhead, Shri Shri Radhe Shyam. All glories to all saints and sages. All glories to all the devas. All glories to all souls. Thank you for joining me. अनादिकाल से हमने अनंत अनंत दुख पाए. For countless lives I have been suffering. Why? Paap karte karte. Antahakaran. My mind have become very polluted because I have been life after life committing sins. In pursuit of the desires of this world, one commits sins, because if we can't get what we want in a legitimate manner, we'll be tempted to lie, to cheat, to outsmart, to be cunning. And therefore we incur sin because of greed, desire, which only brings greed, and if not fulfilled, anger, and in the wake of anger, destruction of everyone around us and ourselves. And the root cause is material desires. We are like this because we only live in 3 states of consciousness. Life after life, we have only lived in 3 states of consciousness. Right now we are awake. We are consciously aware of what we're seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling, thinking in this external world. This is called the waking state. When we go to bed and we are dreaming, the internal state takes control of the sleeping body that is unconscious. The mind, which houses the 5 subtle senses of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and the intellect, is now experiencing the internal world of the mind, which is made up of countless lives of impressions, of things we did, and also of our daily experience in our waking state. This come together in that dream state and produces an experience as obvious as when we are in our waking state. When one is dreaming, he feels completely as if this is real. The man is shouting next door, and the husband gets up and the wife is screaming in the bedroom next door, what's wrong, what's wrong? When she gets up, she says, oh, I was having a nightmare. But during the dream state, whatever you're going through, it's real until you become conscious by waking up. Then the third state we live in, the waking state, the dream state is the second. The third state we live in is called deep sleep, in which the body is unconscious in bed and the mind, senses, and intellect also shuts down. And there is no dream. But in the morning you are aware that you are in deep sleep, this third state, because you know you did not have any dream and you say, I had a good rest last night. So we have lived life after life in these 3 states. It's why we remain ignorant of who we are until we access the 4th state, which is called Turyia. Turyia, the Sanskrit word, means fort. Until we access this 4th state, we live ignorant of our true self, our true purpose, who is truly related to us, meaning God. What is our purpose here? Why? Because we think in these 3 states that we're the body and everything related to the body is mine, and I only invest time and effort in procuring the possessions of the world and accessing the entertainments of the world so I can satisfy these 3 states of existence. And I remain oblivious of my true self, the soul. Because we live only in body consciousness in the 3 states. Once Maharaj Janak, Mata Sita's father, had a dream. King Janak was a very powerful king. He had vast kingdom, countless servants, a vast treasury. He was dreaming. In the dream state, he dreamt that he was a beggar in tattered clothing, barefoot, roaming around in his own city called Janakpur, begging. And some of the ministers that are in his kingdom, he saw in his dream, were chasing him away. He woke up out of that dream in cold sweat and became quite deluded. He couldn't understand whether right now, in his waking state, that all he is seeing, that this is his palace, this is his bed with linen sheets, and this is all his servants are at his behest. And he thought maybe this waking state could be a dream, and that I'm actually a beggar who is dreaming that I'm a king. So he became completely deluded and confused, and would not be consoled by his ministers even, who told him, Maharaj, you are King Janak, and this is your kingdom. He was still in doubt for a while. It seems he went through a spell of madness because of this dream. When finally he was relieved by the great saint who is called Ashtavakra, he was bent in 8 places, called Ashta means 8, Vakra means places. His body was so crooked, he was bent by his feet, his hands, his neck, his waist, everything was bent up, but he was a God-realized soul. And he came and said to King Janak, when you were in your dream state, did you think that you were a king? He said, no. I was dreaming that I am a beggar living in this city of Janakpur. And now that you're in this waking state, do you think that you are a beggar? He said, no, I think this could be a dream that I'm a king. And when you have no dream, when you are in deep sleep, do you think anything? Do you feel anything? No, I am completely oblivious in deep sleep. So you are neither a beggar in that dream state, you're neither a king in this waking state, and you're neither an unconscious being in your deep sleep. You are the soul who has observed a dream as a beggar. You're now observing that you are a king in this body, and when you are in the dreams, when you're in deep sleep, you observe nothing, but in the morning you are aware that you had no dream, you had a sound sleep. So these 3 states have nothing to do with you. You are the witness only of these 3 states. You see, beyond the body are the 5 senses. Beyond the 5 senses is the mind. Beyond the mind is one's intellect. Beyond the intellect is you and I, the witness, the soul, the witness of what we're thinking, our intellect is thinking, while the intellect is not aware of the soul in these 3 states. The intellect remains ignorant of the soul in these 3 states. But the soul is aware of what the intellect is thinking. The intellect is aware of what the mind is thinking. The mind is aware of what the senses are thinking. And the senses are aware of what the body is doing. But the body has no awareness of what I am seeing. The body is an unconscious entity. Beyond that, the senses have no awareness what the mind is desiring. But the mind, the controller and the governor of the senses, can direct the senses what it desires to see or hear, taste or touch. So the mind governs the senses, and the mind has no control over what the intellect is doing, because the intellect is the governor of the mind senses. But the intellect has no awareness of what the soul, you the witness, is doing until one can access the fourth state, Turyia. When one becomes aware of Shakshi Bhav, having the feeling, Bhav means feeling, Shakshi means I'm feeling, I'm a witness of what my body, mind, senses, intellect are doing. These faculties of mine, I am beyond them. So this is called Turyia, the fourth state. And so Maharaj Janak became relieved. Now I would like to tell you of my own experience, why I started my spiritual journey. In 1980, I came back from Canada. I had a motorcycle, a brand new motorcycle, and I had some money. I worked over there for some time, and to wait until my fiancée got her permanent resident so that we will get married, and then I will go back over there. I had to wait in Guyana for some time. For about 9 months or so I was here. In 1980, so I was at that time completely atheistic. Who cares about God? In my youthful folly, all I was interested in parties, sporting, drinking liquor, getting high, running behind any girl. Even though I was engaged, I didn't care about that. Who cares about that when there are other fishes to fry? And stuff like that was the mental disposition. Just to enjoy sport and enjoyment of the senses. Then one night, we used to stay by the roadside and at a house there with a few friends, and I was the big one in the group because I had some money, and everybody else was praising me and keeping me feeling as if I'm very important. And in this delusion I felt very good because before God consciousness we are egocentric. We live only for the sake of pride and honor. So I saw a horse give birth to a foal. And animals like cows and horses, the same day they get up and within a few hours they can even run. And this horse started to run along the roadside. And it became about 7 o'clock in the night, and in its immaturity, that foal was blinded by an oncoming truck and ran, instead of into the parapet, ran into the oncoming glare of the light and was thrown into the air and fell opposite the house, which was very close to the road. And I saw this and I was shocked. I became sober. I thought, look at this. Born today and dead today. What is the purpose of this life? What is the meaning of this life? And that shocked me. I started to say, is there really a God? What's the purpose of this? If there is a God, that something is born and then die the same day, I can't understand the purpose here. The very next day, we were sober up by the morning. Overnight, we are back again. By 8 o'clock in the morning, we are ready to start our session again. We were going to the pool shop, to drink a few beers and shoot some pools. And right as soon as we stepped out of the house, which the horse died yesterday, and today we were now going along the same road. And my friend, one of my friends, he saw his girlfriend riding, coming towards us on the opposite side of the road on a bicycle. And it seemed they had some kind of tiff with each other, some kind of a quarrel. And she immediately tried to turn around. And right in front of us, she turned without looking, and a car hit the bicycle. She flew into the windscreen and died there right in front of us. Now, this compounded my dismay about what is life, what is going on here. A few weeks later, I was walking on the road. I saw an old man hunched over a stick, very slowly moving. And I stopped the motorcycle and I said, "Grandfather, where are you going? Can I take you there?" He said, "Yes, I live in Success." So I took the stick, put it between our legs, and took him home. He said, "Look, this is the Iron Gate. I live here. And all that you want to know, I can tell you in 21 days. So I was amazed. Because this man, as if he read my mind, I was having questions now. What is life? What is the meaning of life? What is our purpose here? Is it just to eat, sleep, drink, and sport, have some momentary sexual enjoyment, and to live for the sake of entertainment and luxury and comforts? It don't make sense. So he said he can tell me everything I want to know in 21 days. I should come. So I started going there. He had some cows. I used to help him clean the cow pen. And like this, he started to tell me things about God, about Krishna, about Radha, about Sita and Ram, and about the Lord Jesus and these prophets and these saints. And he was telling me all these stories. And what is the purpose of life? That you're the soul, and you're not the body. You are beyond these three states of existence. As long as you remain in these three states of existence, of only waking, dream, and deep sleep, you remain ignorant of what is your purpose here. And then he told me, "I want to show you something. I want to show you what I mean by there is you are the soul. But you need to go to a pure place." So, the only pure place I can think of was the Hare Krishnas, which they had a house, a huge house in Ifluk. And so, the same boy whose girlfriend died, I asked him to accompany me. And we went there and we pleaded with the head of the organization at that time. I can't remember who his name is. Please let us stay here for a few days, that we're inspired to know Radha and Krishna. I have this guru, this old man, his name was Raghubir Das. And he has encouraged us to come here, and I have a deep interest in what life is all about and what is the meaning of life. And finally they agreed and allowed us to stay in a little hut in the yard of that building. 3:30 in the morning we were awake. They woke us and said that at 4 o'clock there's Mangal Arti, which is a religious ritual performed in front of the deities of Radha and Krishna. And we went up there. I was standing there and hearing their singing, and they were playing a drum, and they were playing kartals, like little cymbals. And suddenly, about 15 minutes into this singing and hearing the kartals and seeing the pujari waving the lamps to the divine Lord, it seems to me I began to feel the sound of these kartals enter into my ears and into my brain and into my heart, and my heart started to flutter. And within a moment, my body fell to the floor, and I could see nothing except a divine light that pervaded the entire building. The walls of the building disappeared. Everyone's body disappeared. All I can see are like points of lights where their bodies were before. All I can see is that there are innumerable points of lights around me. And myself is just a point of light in a flood of light. That's all that I can see. I know what I was seeing, and I know I am thinking of what I am seeing, but I am not in my body. And so, this was my experience of God. And I realized that this energy of God, which is an invisible form of light, you know, there are various spectrums of light. Right now, this broadcast is possible through the medium of radio waves, which is invisible. Then there is ultraviolet, infrared, gamma rays, all invisible forms of light. But this form of light is even beyond all forms of light, because it covered the other lights that were in the building, and everything disappeared except the presence of this unlimitedly bright light, of which I am a part of. And then I went back to Raghubir Das, who then told me, this is the first awareness of who God is. God has three states: Brahman, which is that light that you observed. Then he also resides in each heart as Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, who is the soul of your soul. God is the soul of my soul. God is the light of the light that we are. And then the third aspect of God is called Bhagavan, who resides in a kingdom that transcends the material creation, that he, who is the supreme creator, has created through his agency of Brahma, and he maintains it, and he dissolves it and retrieves it within himself in the form of Narayan. God has unlimited forms, but these are his three main aspects. Brahman, that unlimited energy that is the substratum of all gross and subtle material elements, and he resides in each heart. He is the soul of each soul, and he lives in a region called Vaikunta, that divine abode that is called a place of no anxiety. And we now presently have an opportunity to access that region where one can live in a body of light, a divine body, a soul body, not an elemental body made up of earth, water, fire, air, and space. A divine body like God's body. But it must be accessed through the process because of loving God only. One cannot attain God by his charitable nature, by what he do, by studying the scriptures, by doing rituals. No, all of this are helpful, but one must come to that place where he practices love for God, because God says in 1855 of the Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. Only one who practices to love me can know me in truth, what I am, how I am, where I am. When he becomes my devotee, by my grace, by practice of devotee, we will be given the grace of God's knowledge, God's senses, God's intellect. Then he comes to know God in reality, how he is, what he is, how he is, where he is, in truth. Then he enters into God's association among God's unlimited associates, and who are no different than God himself. God has unlimited associates who God lives with just as friends, beloved, mother, father, all are there. I invite you to inquire into the fourth state. Thank you for joining me. Jai Shri Radhe.
That was a paid program, and the views and opinions expressed are those of the host and other speakers and do not reflect the views and opinions of TVG Channel 28.